Hello, runners. Coach Bala here. Super excited to present to you yet another episode of our podcast. And this time, we thought we will do something a little different. For those of you who are here seeing this for the first time or hearing this for the first time, we normally do these podcasts with fellow runners, past runners, runners in general, sort of understanding their running career, how they got into running, why they run, and sort of understand and learn from their experiences. That's typically what our topics for running in these podcasts are. But as we do multiple seasons and as we get exposed to more and more amazing human beings who are also runners, we also see the need for some topic-specific discussion, which we believe will, help all of us. So it is with that with that logic, I thought that I will present this week's episode, and this is more like a fireside chat. If we had if I was lucky enough to have these four awesome runners and friends live, what you should envision is we are sitting in front of a nice fireplace and just having a discussion about one topic that I really want to bring this. So I'm more a facilitator in this discussion. And that topic is about commitment and dedication. Now, one of the key ingredients for a successful long distance running, I would say, career over a multiple years is you need to train yourself to be committed and dedicated to the cause. Because this long distance training and long distance running is not for the lighthearted. What I mean is you need to be at it for extended period of time to enjoy the benefits and reap the rewards of both physical and mental development this awesome sport gives us. So those of us who are in our training program, you would know that we measure commitment and dedication by every 3 weeks, every mesocycle. The coaches provide a quantitative and qualitative review of your sort of running experience or your training experience, not just running. As you know, training is not just running, it's running and strength training. And we give a quantitative rating on a scale of 1 to 5. 5.0 means you are just walking on water. That means you have pretty much done everything that you're expected to do. Note, speed is not what we're measuring. What we're measuring is commitment and dedication to actually doing the training program without fail for extended period of time. Now, so you can imagine getting 5.0 in just 1 3-week mesocycle is a huge deal. Managing and planning everything in life and making sure you don't miss a single element of training for 3 consecutive weeks to get a 5.0 in 1 mesocycle is a big deal. But you know what is a bigger deal? Is actually doing that for the entire season, which has got 4 mesocycles and a couple of warm-up weeks as well, and missing nothing for the entire 16 weeks of the training program and getting a 5.0 across the entire season. Now, that requires a tremendous amount of commitment and dedication. But guys, I never said that I am with the regular, sort of human beings here. I am with amazing human beings here. So there are some folks in our Runners High community who perfected this art and science of getting a 5.0, not just in 1 season, but multiple seasons. Or in other words, this is the team that I'm with, a team of special runners who have mastered that and who have been with Runners High for 3, 4, 5 seasons now. And they have got a perfect score across seasons. Now, that is sort of the gold standard of commitment and dedication, ladies and gentlemen. So I thought I will have a chat with these guys to, as I said, maybe once you can do it, but doing it for season after season after season, there has to be a science and an art to getting this done. So I thought let's get into that, have the discussion with them and let us see how they manage to do that. How do they go about aligning all the ducks in order and execute on 5.0? So without much further, ado, let me call upon them and let's introduce them first. How about we start from on the right, Coach Sujaa. please a quick introduction about yourself, how long you've been with Runner's High, and maybe what you're doing right now and where do you reside. Please go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Bala. So I started with Runners High in season 3. That was 2020, January, I think. Whenever that was. But now we are in season 9. So this is my 7th season, in a row continuously. And it's been an exciting journey. I didn't realize I would go this far, but, it's happened. So
amazing.
That's me.
7th season, 6 seasons of 5.0. And where are you from? Like, where do you reside right now? And what are you?
Oh, sorry. So I'm from Westford, Massachusetts, in the Northeast. So, our weather changes by the minute, but we plan for it.
Awesome. And you're training for a half marathon this season, correct?
This season, I'm training for a half.
Amazing. Okay, let's go to the lady from New Jersey. How about you? Let's quick introduction, please.
Hi, so I am Veena Mistry. This is my 4th season, and this season I have enrolled for 10K speed run. And from the first season itself, it's been an amazing journey and just loving it more and more every season. I mean, and best coaches and best team I've been, working with. So yeah, that's
incredible. 4 seasons of 5.0 plus, 4th season plus of 5.0. Awesome. So before I come to the gentleman here, let's go to the lady from Houston. Please go ahead.
Hello everyone, I am Sonali. I am based out of Texas, a Houston suburb called Sugarland. This is my 4th season with RHWB. I started with season 6. I did for 2 half marathons, and last season I did a 5K speed program, which I loved. And for this season also, I've signed up for a 5K speed.
Awesome. 4 seasons again of 5.2. So guys, 4 seasons means 2 years. That is 2 years straight away. That means 2 years of continuous training. And in Sujaa's case, it's 3 years of continuous training. What's the story with you, Raghu?
This is my 6th season. And of course, I just follow my better half there from Westford. I live in Westford, and she's a big inspiration for me in terms of getting things done. I'm doing my I've only done half marathons, all these, and this season I'm doing the speed half marathon. Just to add, everything else is the better half.
Awesome. 2 Massachusetts runners, 1 Houston runner, and 1 East Coast New Jersey runner. We have it all. We have it all, the entire East Coast. So it's not one thing. One immediate insight here is 5.0 is not region specific. That's something we can clearly say. It can come from any part of the world, and there are a few other runners who come from other parts of the world, literally, and they also have multi-season 5.0. We started off with these 4. So coming back to the theme of this podcast, the way I wanted to discuss this, guys, is that let me break this art and science, as I said, of hitting multi-season 5.0 or being committed and dedicated to the ideal limit into 3 parts. Let's have this discussion in 3 parts. One is, I believe that to get a 5.0, you need to know how to plan your work and go about working your plan. That is, you need to know how to plan and then how to execute. You got to do that. So let's have that discussion about how do you go about doing that. Then we kind of remove that hat and take the second hat, which is, let us discuss about, I'm sure as you look through the season, you will have some roadblocks that you would expect, that you would definitely expect some roadblocks. So how do you go about figuring out which one is a roadblock, and how do you go about kind of negotiating those roadblocks to continue to deliver this 5.0 performance across multiple seasons? So let's have that discussion. And I'm sure as a third part, I'm sure in the last 4 years or 2 years plus, you would have had unexpected roadblocks as well that you never thought of, but it just fell into your lap. And how did you go about sort of managing that situation? So I guess if you have this discussion across these 3 spectrum, we would cover the art and science of having that 5.0. Okay. So with that, let's start with Sonali. What are your thoughts on the first question? How do you go about planning your work and working your plan?
All right, so essentially planning starts right from when you sign up for the season. So for that, you have to know yourself, what you're capable of, and your situation. And that's the first stepping stone to success. Once that is done, I think it's important to decide what your goal for that season is. For example, for my first season, my goal was plain and simple. I just wanted to be able to complete the season without having any major injuries, finish the final run, and be in a position to celebrate it. One thing I found that was helpful was, if you're comfortable with it, it helps to publish your goal to someone who can hold you accountable. It could be your friends who have similar goals, or it can be someone whom you respect and will not take for granted, right? So I remember for my second season, I wanted to hit a particular time for my half marathon. I told Coach Sujaa, that I wanted to do this for this goal, and her first reaction was, "We'll make it happen." So, and that, I think, kind of gives you that extra boost. Then comes the fun part, the prep work, getting the right watch, the right clothes, and most importantly, the right shoes. Fortunately, we have a plethora of information and resources on the RHWB website. But even before the website was up and running, all the coaches and senior runners shared an amazing amount of information and guidance on how to get ready for the season. Then the real fun starts, right? The first 2 warm-up weeks were very helpful in figuring out what's working, what's not working. I used to review the plan for the upcoming mesocycle to see what kind of runs and exercises are assigned, so that if you need something, right, say be it exercise bands, or if you have a hill run coming up, then that gives you a chance to identify the possible location for it. I mean, I'm based out of Houston and it's pretty much flat here. So we had to kind of plan for that. The next is then planning on a weekly basis. And this is especially important when you have family commitments, be it kids or anyone else who depends on you. So in my case, it was, me and my husband would plan on a weekly basis, depending on our work schedule and the weather, about who would go in the morning, who would go in the evening. We also put our personal commitments or appointments, kids' activities, and social commitments on a shared calendar. So then at least we are not caught off guard on, at least on things that we were aware of. Yeah. One thing that helped was, while planning the run schedule, always consider the time required for the pre and the post run routines. So that includes the warm up and then, the post run stretching, etc. So now that all the planning and all is done, but when the time comes to execute it, right? So I think before heading out for any run or starting any workout, it's important to read the instructions before you begin a run, so that you don't make mistakes. Because I myself have made that, like doing 6 strides instead of 8, and then have it later pointed out, right? So I think one thing I felt, that whatever we want to adopt as a long-term lifestyle, it's be it running or overall fitness, try to turn it into a habit, because none of us have unlimited willpower, right? So if we turn some of those important things into a habit, then we don't have to use that precious willpower so often. So yeah, I think those are some things I try to live by. But
awesome, these are great points. Sujaa, what would you add to that?
Very beautifully put, Sonali. So articulate about how to plan ahead, right? Before even the season starts, and then how you think about it. So I was thinking more along the lines of, how do I plan my week? So the weather here changes so quickly, and we really have to plan for how, when we can get things done. So for me, I draw a lot of inspiration, actually, I think, from Strava, seeing my fellow runners. So Coach Srivatsan is here. He usually gets his run done early in the morning. That's my prime motivator, to see some runs already there, that gets me out. And then even from New Jersey, Coach Indu and I know Coach Naina are all early morning runners. So by the time I'm up, I think I have that. And the other thing I do even before is to make sure the previous day I set my clothes out. I know what I'm going to wear the next day for the run. So that way, one thing is out, right? I'm not wasting time thinking. It's there, sitting there in front of me. I just have to put it on and be ready to go, wear the watch and go. And make sure that my watch is always charged the previous night. I always check that and make sure I put it in the charger. In terms of just being ready for the run, for the day, for the week even, I plan ahead. And strength training is not my strongest. It takes a lot of willpower for me to, spend that time. But I usually find once I get started, it's not so bad. It's just that I have starting trouble. But I try to get that done first thing in the morning. So the sooner I get this done, I feel accomplished. And my rest of my day, I feel very positive about it. It's the same thing with the run too, right? Positive endorphins flowing. So you get it done first thing in the morning, it's checked off. And secondly, and you're feeling good about it through the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Veena, You do agree to those thoughts?
Yep, I mean, absolutely. Again, both Sonali, Sujaa has put it very beautifully. So again, from my end, same thing. Like just make it a routine. So again, keep the same routine. It helps. Don't have to think too much. Get up, wear your clothes, go to running. And the times when I had like, okay, I had to fly, like the last week we were on vacation and everything. So I know the day I'll be flying from morning to evening. Then I will like again check with coach, like, can I run like the day before or day later? But I'll make sure like I plan it accordingly. I'm not missing it. So whenever it's changing, at least I know throughout the week what I need to do and then adjust my routine. But yeah, pretty much like, both of them said, right? So plan it, know it in advance. It's easy to adjust. And again, the another thought is like always like we have 24 hours in the day, so definitely like if we can take out like 1 hour 2 or whatever we need, so that's like to ourselves, right? I know, and like Suja mentioned, right, feel good about it once you're done, so it's okay, and now check it out of our list and okay, next day comes in. So
Yeah.
absolutely, yep.
Exactly. Don't accept your mind telling that, hey, today it's difficult, I don't have time, kind of a thing. You're saying,
Absolutely.
what, you can't do 1 hour for yourself? I think you challenge yourself, I would say, when your mind is throwing that curveball, isn't it, Veena?
Exactly.
And so, Raghu, what's your sort of story here?
I mean, I think all the girls here have covered everything. I don't have anything special to add, but only one particular, two things actually to highlight. One is the calendar point that Sonali really helps. The calendar, if you have a family and if you have a calendar for the week, you look at the calendar, you plan your week. And then secondly, what I have done, very dedicate yourself half an hour on a Sunday to plan for the coming week. Just half an hour. Okay, Monday to Saturday. How are you going to do this? Just kind of prepare yourself in your mind, especially with the strength training versus running. Strength training, you know that you don't have to go outside and do it. It's all in the house. So what I have done and what has worked well for me is you plan your strength training easily. And the running will, of course, running, you have to go outside. I don't prefer to run on the treadmill. So that's where you're, sometimes you get into the, oh my God, I have to run. It's going to be -0 degrees and I have to run. But and as you have mentioned, strength training is important. So the way I plan for is strength training on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, even if you have to skip one day, how are you going to how are you going to cover it? So that has helped me. Well, those are the things.
Very, very beautifully said. So when I listen to you guys, I see that you guys spend a lot. So if you think about the question I'd asked, plan, execute. Those are the two sides of the coin. You guys have spent a lot of time making sure that the planning is sort of picture perfect, so that execution is as easy as possible. Because you think of execution, some of the roadblocks of execution can be removed by a better planning. That's really what I see when I hear from you. Now, on the execution side, I guess the biggest roadblock as a coach I've seen, or even as a runner I've seen, is the inertia to get out and start. The starting inertia is a big sort of. So, I mean, Sonali, you have any thoughts on any strategies on how you get out that inertia out of the door?
Yeah, I mean, how much ever you love running, right? There will be times where you just don't want to get up and go out. So a few things help me, like for example, how Coach Suja mentioned about, keeping things ready. In my case, I'll dress up for a run well before time.
Yep.
So I'll keep the water bottle handy as and when get time, shoes laid out. So when the time comes, I just grab, do my warm up, grab my stuff, and then head out. So it takes a little less mental effort to break out of that inertia. And again, like she mentioned, I would also look at the Strava runs for other runners, especially the ones with whom I share some of these challenges, right? Be it time commitment or family commitments, etc. So that gives me that extra boost to go and finish my own run. Long runs, especially, we try to plan with friends so that becomes a fun part. But running with the plan, such as our RHWB program, has been truly truly iterative learning process. Because as you go along, it helps if you can identify what keeps you going. For example, I keep a custom playlist handy. So for some upbeat music, if I'm finding it a little difficult to keep going in that run, one thing that helped me was I try to take a mental note of all the benefits and good things I feel after finishing a run, a week, a meso, or a season. right? So it could be stamina improvement, improvement in overall mood or enthusiasm to do other challenging or non-interesting things. And then I would also try to remember how bad I felt if I skipped something important just out of sheer boredom, just because I didn't feel like it. So kind of thinking about those things help me motivate, to just go and do it wherever possible. And as long as, it's not any extenuating circumstances or these
Absolutely.
things.
That totally improves fight against inertia by remembering the both positive and negative of missing or doing it. And I think, Sujaa, you also have some strategies on like hearing and that type of stuff, podcast and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the habits I picked up, I think, is starting listening to audio books. Actually, Coach Reader told me about this app called Libby, where you can connect your library card to this app, and you can borrow audio books from your from the local library that you would have physically gone and borrowed books from. And that is fantastic. I have listened to so many books now, so that's another motivating factor, right? I could be fiction, non-fiction. Actually, Coach Bala, I think we should start a page in our RHWB site for book and podcast recommendations, and even
Yes, we'll do
who
that.
recommended it, so that we can follow somebody who has these recommendations. Not everyone's taste will be the same, so we'll I think it'll be a good idea to follow. But books are a great way, especially fiction. You stop at an interesting point, you want to know what's happening next. The only time I listen to is when I run, so I have to go out running to keep the story going. Or interesting podcasts, right? I get inspired tremendously by all these amazing running podcasts. I listen to a lot of that. And sometimes I play it loudly at home too, and everyone's asking me to stop it. So I tend to only listen to all these things while I'm running. So that's my huge get out of the house factor.
Absolutely phenomenal. Golden nuggets. I started writing notes, and then I realized that, you guys are dishing out the nuggets at such rapid pace that I'm not even able to keep up. But for the audience, let me summarize, guys, some of the things that really impressed me. First of all, actually, you know what? Before I summarize, I wanted a sort of a question, a provocative question. When you start the season, do you guys shoot for a 5.0? Like, as in, is one of your goals to be a 5.0? Or it just happens because of your nature? Or you are like saying, no, I want to be a 5.0. That's really what I want to be. What's your truthful answer to that question?
Absolutely. I shoot for it.
Okay.
No, from my end, yeah, I just make sure. Yeah, I think I just want to do it, and I would feel guilty if I miss something.
Yeah, you want the 5.0 basically. How about you? Is it same Sonali, Raghu as well?
Yeah, for my first season, I didn't even know that there is a scoring like that. It happened, and it made me realize how good I felt. So I'm like, as much as possible, I should aim for it. Let's plan for success, right? Yeah. So.
I'm sure, Raghu, it's the same for you too.
For me, it has to be because my wife is a 5.0. So
yeah, no soup for you if you don't do your work for the day.
No, but
get my dinner.
yeah, it's no mean point. Okay. And this is something I truly believe in. If your goal itself is not dream worthy, then what's the point of setting a goal? That's what I want to say. Like I tell my kid, shoot for the moon. Even if that doesn't happen, you are still like, at least on top of the skyscraper, right? If your goal itself is like, okay, I'll try to do 80% of the runs, then what's the point of having a goal? You can just as well not have any goal and just let the luck take over, right? Shoot for the youngsters here, in the same vein, shoot for the Ivy League schools. That when you are getting out of schools, don't come and don't say that, no, I don't want to do that. I don't know. I'm still in the admissions committee of my school. The biggest reason why people don't get into an Ivy League school is because they don't apply for the school. Think about that. Which is interesting, right? If you don't even apply, then you are definitely not getting it. Likewise, if you don't even shoot for 5.0, you're not getting it. Simple, right? So you should first shoot for it. And I'm glad that these four stalwarts said that confidently. Yeah, I shoot for it. I go for it. Only when you go for it, you'll get a 5.0. So that's my first golden nugget. And I want you to be confident enough, cocky, in fact, say that, man, I'll go for 5.0. I'll not let it go that easy. And that's the first nugget that Veena brought up nicely. You got to be a little, should I say, aggressive onto yourself. You can't spend 1 hour of your time onto yourself. Who the hell are you kidding? Do yourself, I'm talking about. If your body is giving out today, its mind is painful, I have multiple meetings, I had to go to this travel, all that is like BS reasons. You got to just shut it down. I think that's what Veena does it. I'm sure all these guys do it very well. The second thing approach is, this doesn't happen by itself. You got to put some investment first. That is where these runners beautifully talked about using the resources given to you, using your family's help, planning before and thinking about what needs to happen. And I'm reading the instructions. There's a reason why instructions are given to you. If you don't read the instructions, you're not getting 5.0. Because we are asking you to do 5-mile run, and you go and do a 3-mile run because you just thought that's what you can do today because yesterday you did a 3-mile run. Great, but you're not getting 5.2. Or you don't do the strength exercise. You forgot that today was strength exercise and something else. You just did that something else, but you forgot the strength exercise because you didn't read. These are not something that I'm imagining. These are real cases where people have lost out of 5.0, not doing the training. And some might think, what's the big deal in 5.0? Oh, of course, what's the big deal in getting Ivy League school? It's not that everybody who gets an Ivy League school are the only ones who became a CEO. But the thought process is you should get into Ivy League school. If you get it or not is a separate story. But you should not self-disqualify for getting a 5.0 by not reading instructions and not putting the work first. That's really the messaging. And the other one that I really liked about, use the motivating factors around you to reduce the friction of inertia, whether it is looking at the Strava profiles of people that you respect, whether it is telling before only to your coach or someone else that, hey, I'm shooting for this. That gives you the intrinsic pressure motivation, I call it. And it works beautifully in dieting. I do this all the time. When I want to go on a dieting, I tell every Tom, Dick, and Harry that I know that I'm going on a dieting, only because next time I feel like eating something, I know, I've already told this guy I'm not going to eat this. How will I eat this now? That is the internal motivation I get there to break the inertia of dieting. And running, it's same thing. It happens so beautifully. The last thing on the clear KPI, I think Sonali brought this up. Like how you want to shoot for the 5.2 as one of the clean thing. You should know, what does 5.2 mean to you? You got to say why, what it means to me. Unless you're clear about the goal and articulate the goal properly, you will never get to that goal. And if you think about like an example, I'm just taking Sonali as an example. Her goal was not to go and become a Boston qualifier. That was not her goal. Her goal was to complete it and be very, I think complete with a smile or something. I think that was the word you used, I think, Sonali, right? Like really complete it and feel great about what I just did. That was her goal, achievable, but it is still a little bit of a distant. You need to work towards that. So I guess those were the golden nuggets, guys. And beautifully said. Let's talk about the next point. And this time I want to start with you, Raghu, which is, I'm sure 16 weeks is a long time. Life will happen. Problems will happen. So talk to me about how do you sort of manage the expected issues and the red flags and the roadblocks that you normally hit in a season, let alone multi-season.
So when I look at this from a weekly perspective, and when you're looking at this ecosystem of running, there are so many people and you get inspiration from some of the things that I think flags I would say is commuting to work. For example, you have to go to work 3 times a week, and and especially I work in Boston, so I leave at 6:37 in the morning, and by the time I get back home, it's 7 o'clock. So then you need to plan for that. I mean, that's a red flag, right? I mean, you come back tired, but still you got to get the things done. So simple things like, maybe get up 1 hour early, which I don't do. My wife knows that. But then plan for it in the evening, like, stay 1 hour late. You're tired, but get it done. It's a 5.0. So that's the thing. Another thing that a red flag is planning around kids' schedule, right? For example, you're taking your kid, in my case, I take my son for tennis classes, and sometimes it's during the week. So if you're going to a club, there is a gym there, your son is playing tennis, you can't come back home. So you take your, you read the instructions, take the few things, you have to take a band and a few things along with you, and in the gym, spend that half an hour doing your strength training, and while your son is hitting the ball. and you get done. So that's something. Those are the two items. And the third item that I had is boredom. Of course, you have to deal with boredom. And Coach Sujaa said that well. When you listen to, for me, more than podcast, music helps. So I kind of keep changing. If I tune to different kind of music, and I ask people about music, what kind of music you're listening, and I always change up the music, so that way you're not bored while running. So
Yeah.
I think these are the three major things that in my life I have seen with my experience that seem to overcome that the red flags, and I'm able to conquer the 5.0.
Absolutely. Veena?
Yep. So again, very beautiful said, Raghu. So same, I mean, again, like, working around your, sometimes the office, you have to go, to get up early morning, 4 a.m. or whatever, then you come back late. So again, making sure working around it, if you know what your schedule is, yes, kind of plan it accordingly. Just don't be giving an excuse. Okay, like today I had to go. I woke up so many hours and I drove so many, and I drive to New York, almost like, closer to New York, at least the Holland Tunnel. So I get stuck in the traffic like 2 hours. But again, that nothing kind of, I make sure it doesn't, give me an excuse like, oh, now I drove, now I'm tired. No, like you have to discipline. All our excuses, period. That's it. Like, whatever we can come up is an excuse, including time. I think it was my first season itself. I had plantar fasciitis. So I would little bit limp and I would, message my coach like, okay, you know what? I don't think so I'll be able to do it, workout this week. Maybe I'll have to stop soon. But he's like, okay, no problem. Like, keep continuing. But still, like, I think the motivation was so much like, no, I need to keep continuing. I have worked through that plantar fasciitis, literally like limping sometimes and running, but making sure I'm not injuring it like really bad, but somehow managing. Then I had plantar wart also. That also again was like painful, but again I will try to adjust. Go to the doctor, get the right shoes, get the right soles. Like I have worked around all those with literally like weeks and weeks I had, but again trying to work it around it and not just say, oh, okay, I have this problem now. What do I do? Okay, let me just take a break. No, I made sure that everything, whatever came, deal with it, figure out a way rather than giving an excuse like, okay, you know what, now this is the problem, now I had to quit it. Like, no, don't let reasons, give up, but you give a reason how I can go back and then keep continuing. So those are, yeah, a couple of my examples.
Wonderful. Sujaa?
So we're talking about like kind of expected blockers in your schedule. So what can I say in addition to what you all have already said? Yeah, mainly don't give in to excuses, like Veena said, right? Don't what you're coming up with is just an excuse. The first time you say, "Oh, okay, maybe I can't do today," then it becomes you've lost the 5.2, and once you lose that, you go, "I've already lost it. What's a big deal? Like I'm okay to skip another run or a strength workout or whatever, right?" Don't give room for that first excuse. Like don't miss it. Make it happen somehow. Then you will feel you'll kind of put that pressure on yourself to make it happen then, right? It just becomes automatic. So that is one thing. And also be very what do you say, conscious, or think about your hydration, nutrition, and all that stretching and everything. Very conscious effort towards all of that, so you prevent injury, right? If you are if you treat your body well, body will treat you well, so you will be able to continue your schedule, I feel.
+1. Sonali?
Yeah, great points, right? Like commute, for example, Raghu mentioned, right? Commute, even I have a long commute to work, and I noticed that I observed that when I would be driving back from home, I would be really tired from exhaustion from driving so long. And then the overall enthusiasm kind of goes downhill from there. So then I started to, keep some fruits or healthy snacks with me. So, on the way I could eat or right after coming home. So then, I don't have that excuse about not feeling that great. On long runs, I noticed that initially I would not have any protein handy right after the long run. And then that, it would manifest, right, in terms of it could be cramps or in general soreness. So I tried to follow some routine for especially after the long runs. It could be foam roller or it could be icing, whatever you're feeling sore, wherever you're feeling sore. Or again, right, like having that proper nutrition after a long run. Again, with the running, we can't really keep our life on hold, right? And we also kind of ended up traveling a lot during all of the running seasons. So what we would try is, kind of plan for the runs in between. It could be time or the means to do the runs. So be it identifying a local trail or a park, so that we don't have that excuse either, right? Like be it time or be it the place. Or get a hotel which has a gym where at least, worst from worst, you can use the treadmill. So these are some of the things that, you kind of, like I said, it's a learning process, right? You kind of uh, go through some of these things, but don't break the chain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, these are beautiful points. So when I think about summarizing all your views, right, the way I kind of do this is, first is you need to be very clear on what are the known issues that come to a typical runner's plate. And when I look at it, I think you touched on all the broad spectrum of everything. One is something to do with kids that you have to do, like a responsibility that you have to do, and they are all time bound there. So it sort of sucks you into that. Second is something to do with your work travel, because that's a big amount of number of hours that goes by that you cannot avoid. You have to do that travel, and that is exhausting. That is another thing I'm seeing. Third one I'm seeing is that it is like, some kind of a known health issue that is slowly brewing. You know that it is like an example of plantar example was given by Veena. I'm sure others had a knee, like a known issue that knee pain is slowly beginning. So internally head is saying, hey, maybe you should take a gap. Kind of something is that you don't give into that is what Veena is basically trying to say. So those are all sort of the, I would say encompasses the typical issues. Boredom probably is another one. Boredom is slowly creeping in. You know that mesocycle 3 peak meso, it's looking at big numbers, and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this, man. Another 12-mile run, 11-mile run. How long can I do this thing alone? So those are nicely, I think it covers the overall spectrum of things that are known plates. And then the way you guys have kind of the common theme across all of this in terms of your solution, as I listen to it, is that be creative in your solution. Don't just accept it. Don't accept it and don't try to give your solution within the context of what you have. You try to be creative, whether it is taking some fruits in the car so that you attack the energy level dip that is happening by the time you finish your travel, or some nice things so that you come in with a little bit of more energy. Whether it is thinking, oh, okay, I have to drop the kids, but there is a gym out there. Why don't I just take the items there and just do the gym there only? Just if the God can't, I mean, what do they say? Like someone can't come to you, you go to them. I forget the proverb.
Mountain there. And molehill. Mohammed.
Yes. That's what Raghu has done that. Whether it is using the, when you were discussing, I was remembering my old, like how I was trying to beat this, right? So in my old Google days, it was super hectic. I used to come at like 11 o'clock in the night, and we didn't have any runner's high or something. No sort of parallel Strava was not there. No motivation. I'm this only idiot running. Nobody else is running around me. None of my friends. Everybody thought I'm a crazy guy. And I am this is at 11 o'clock in the night in winter. So it's like dark, snowy, icy, and I'm tired and coming back. And I need to do the run. And it's not like I have a schedule. So it's not like, there's so much motivation. So you can think of all the things that are against the inertia building item, where I can always say, man, I worked hard. I provided for my family. I have to go to sleep right now. I can easily feel good about myself. So I used to literally have this tagline that in the New Jersey Turnpike, I used to keep telling myself. And that tagline was, you are born to do this. I keep on telling, you're born to do this, Bala, you're born to do this, you're born to do this, keep on saying. It became a mantra. This was like thinking outside the box a little bit, right? Which is attacking the core mental corner in which this inertia is building. And by the time I reached home, I felt like as if the whole world is watching me doing something that I'm born to do. Like it's almost like the Messi coming and winning the World Cup. Nobody's watching me, but internally it felt. So I used to wear shoes, run alone at 12 o'clock in the night in icy conditions, and I felt great about myself. And I just realized it was because of me psyching myself out in my own small way, how to make this happen, make myself look like a hero to myself. That was like a trick that worked. The other thing that challenging the status quo that worked, was when time was not there, I literally convinced my manager to go for a run with me and do my one-on-ones with him. So me and my manager used to run in the east side of New York City, west side of New York City, Manhattan, and we do our one-on-ones and we are running. He also became fit. I also became fit. I finished my thing, and he's my best friend right now. It was like something that I don't know how it came up, but I challenged the status quo of not accepting work as a reason for not doing something. And I was trying to see how I can be creative in finding this, bringing the run to the work, to the example of when you were saying that, that's what I remembered, Raghu, that we can do these things. And nowadays in my role, I take client meetings, like every day I take client meetings on my run. And that is one way I challenge myself to do a CP run. Because if I truly run a CP, then I should have the guts to take a client meeting and have discussion with my client without the client knowing that I'm actually running. And 90% of the time I've been able to achieve that. So I feel these are some very interesting anecdotes on how do you attack a known red flag. And the bottom line of attacking that is first clearly identify the known red flag, and then don't accept the status quo and try to solve for it with standard solutions. Be innovative and be creative in micro ways, and you will be able to make it happen because you have made a decision that you want to get a 5.0. Now, one last point that I think was it Sujaa or someone said is like, if you, let's go ahead, Sujaa.
Yeah, I was just going to add, you said, you had nobody to motivate you when you were running in those days, but today we don't have that excuse. We have a fantastic community, right? And that's where you will introduce it, I think, for the new runners as the season goes. But we do something called humble brags. If you do something that was above and beyond what you thought possible, it can be something simple as you had such a big busy day, yet you went and finished your run or whatever, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Post it in that Runners High community. Or make sure in your run, at least you comment it out. So at least your coach notices. And when it's called out, you'll feel good about yourself, right? And it's a pat on your back. And the next day, that'll push you to continue on.
Yes, 100%. We'll launch this humble brag. Probably by now you've already launched this. By the recording, you have already launched this. But humble brag is true. It's brag, but being humble. But you're bragging to a set of people who knows what it takes to do what you just now did. So it's not a brag. It's like we are identifying with your success kind of story there. That was great, guys. This is great, sort of discussion on this point. Let's go on to the third point, which is unknown red flags that just fell into your lap. Sujaa, why don't you get started this time?
Yes.
How did that happen for you? How did you manage it?
Yeah, one of the things I think that invariably almost all of us have been through is COVID. I think at one point or another, we've all faced it. So that was a hit, like you couldn't do anything for a few days. But the way I got myself out of it is the first thing is get out and try to at least walk, not go immediately start running or whatever, after the initial whatever time you had to quarantine. I stepped out for the required number of mileage, tried to see if I could walk. If I could walk it, then the next time I did the walk run. And that's how I slowly built back to where I was, because respiratory issues, so many things going on, right? You can't just jump right back into it and cause more problems. So that's how I think that's one way that I figured small steps in that direction. And then within a matter of a week, I was able to come back into the usual routine.
Yeah.
So that is one. And the other thing that I've seen as being a coach and seeing, fellow runners, life happens, very drastic things can happen in your life that totally throws your plan off kilter. And that if that happens, the first reaction is, oh my goodness, I cannot continue. This is it. I cannot do. But I usually try to encourage the runners to stop, think about it, and then see what can happen. And invariably they come back and say, I think I want to run, because running gives me that me time. No matter what is going on in life, it gives me that time to spend and to clear your thoughts, or even just going out there, fresh air makes such a big difference. So maybe some of them had maybe on a half marathon plan and may have had to step down to a 10K or whatever. But I've had so many runners come back and say running helped get through a difficult time. So
Absolutely.
something to think about, for unexpected things.
Absolutely, so true. Sonali?
Yeah, fortunately, I didn't have to deal with any major injuries per se, but definitely on several occasions, I've reached a point of total exhaustion. One time I remember I managed to find a block of time during my work day to go and finish my run. It was nice and cloudy. It was supposed to be a fartlek run, basically, which are strides with CP run in between. But halfway through the run, the cloud cover just vanished. The sun just beating down on me, and it was getting very difficult to continue. I was well equipped with like a hat, plenty of water, and all that, but the sheer heat was just getting to me, and I didn't want to overdo it. So then I had to just improvise. I kind of improvised from fartleks to just plain strides, which meant, I walked between the strides instead of running. I finished it. I finished that mileage. I came back and I informed, Coach Watts about what I did, and he agreed that, it was the right thing to do. Kind of, I listened to my body and, what had to be done. And basically, it was like live troubleshooting at that time. A couple of times I did face logistical issues where I went in the evening for a long run. I think I probably misjudged the sunset time. I was going to run around a lake. I was not even halfway done. It was, I think, about a run of 8 miles or so. And it was starting to get dark. Everybody was, leaving. And obviously, I didn't want to run alone and in the dark. But so my other plan was basically run on the sidewalk of the road. I didn't want to do that, but I said, okay, that's what I'll do. I ended up finding a parking lot with some, where my friends were there. So I just finished the rest of it in the parking lot. I felt like a hamster running around that small block, but at least I was by the end of it, I felt great about it. Okay, at least I got it done. So
Absolutely. There are folks who have done run like this inside the airport, folks, from one terminal to the other terminal. Some folks have run within their own bedroom and, because it was raining or snow, whatever. I'm talking about kids, not even adults. So where there is a will, there is a run. That's what I Raghu, what about you, buddy? Any other thoughts to add?
I think it's beautifully covered between, so far at least, both of them covered. So one thing I would like to add is, bring changes to your lifestyle. I mean, all these things, right? For example, when you commute to work, I usually don't take the subway. I walk from the station to work. Take the stairs. That helps, right? I mean, it kind of brings all changes to your lifestyle. I mean, you may not, some days, you're not able to do everything that it's as planned, but once you change the lifestyle around you, I think things will automatically get motivated. You will tend to do things that, for example, I went to India recently in hot summer in Hyderabad. I went to take care of my dad, and it was like 40 degrees. And my dad always used to say that, why are you just staying in your room and putting AC? Do something outside of that. So I used to get up in the morning, 6 o'clock, and go for a run to feel good about it. So small things matter, I think. And
Awesome. Makes sense. Veena?
Yeah, again, all three of them have already covered most of it and very beautifully. So my own personal experience has been like a couple of things which I have faced. Like sometimes I don't feel well, my body's aching or something is bothering my headache or something. But what I do is like, okay, fine, I'm not feeling that great. Fine, I'll do something. So I just push myself, just let's get out. Let's see what I can do, what I cannot do. And honestly, so many times it has been like I felt better. Like, I think with going, maybe I'll have 1 mile, I'll stop it and or I'll walk it up and, combine it. But I have, actually been able to complete it and
Yes.
feel good about it and then come back. So it's like it surprises, but that's how it has been. So yeah, that's one. And then the other is like I remember once I was running for, I think it was 8 miles something, and then 6 miles, like somehow my body just was cramped, and I don't know, it was like badly, my thighs couldn't move, my legs were not moving, and I never made any of my runs incomplete. So I was almost giving up, but then I was okay. I walked and I a little bit ran and I walked, and somehow I finished the other 2 miles. And then I was messaging my coach. I'm like, you know what? I think that's it. I don't think so. I'm capable. I cannot do beyond 6 miles. I think I'm giving up. He's like, don't worry, it must be just that day. And he was right. And I mean, sometimes you just don't feel that great, and you may not be able to do that beautifully. And you feel like, oh, that's it. That's my capacity. Maybe I'm growing old and that's it. That's. But I have seen that, and the next following week it was 10 miles or something, and I without any tiredness I have completed. So yeah,
There you
sometimes it's
go.
like you just get discouraged. But those are the days. Just don't worry about later on. Just finish right now what your hand. But he like replied to me saying like, no, you finished it. That's awesome. Like you did not stop it. So I felt very good about like, though I did slow my 6 to 8 miles, but I finished it, and that was like made me feel very good.
Critical concept, buddy. Critical concept, Veena. This notion of this is not a binary game. It's not like just because you couldn't do 10 miles, that means you can't do anything. People have initially, early days, people have that. Like, when you are about to start a 10 mile and your body is paining, when you think of yourself as I have to do 10-mile run, body is like, no, sorry, this is too much. I can't do it today. Let's throw in a bucket load of inertia at that person so that, they can just give beautiful reasons and just, static. Immediately tell your body, no, I don't want to do 10 miles. Let's just go out and do 1 mile. That's it. All you're telling your body, I want to do 1 mile. 1 mile will be much easier. If even 1 mile is difficult, just tell your body that I just want to get out. Just enjoy the atmosphere and come back. That's all I want to do. You do that, and when you're doing that, say, okay, let me just do 0.5 mile. Literally fooling your mind. As you fool your mind is slowly like, oh, shoot, I can do it. And then before you know, you're doing it. Because the concept of this binary, don't be 0-1, like the same thing Sonali did. Okay, I couldn't do fartlek. That doesn't mean that I can't do the regular stride with just walk. I can do that, which is 1,000 times better than just cut it out. And then, that run was not done in final surge. And then eventually 5.0 not happened and you're not here, So these are small micro techniques that needs to happen, adjustments that needs to happen to eventually get to that 5.0. And I want to end by one other point of this one. I want to say about this very interesting mental mapping of this 5.0. It is like, if you think about, I know none of you maybe are not a smoker, but, I used to be a smoker before. And then for folks who used to smoke and left smoking, which is what I'm, so 10 years I've stopped smoking. Now, the inertia or what should I say, the body inertia or my ability to control my first cigarette, after leaving smoking is very, very high. Okay. So I will never touch the next cigarette. But the minute I finish the first cigarette, like let's say I start off with the first cigarette, the inertia for my second cigarette is like just 90, only 10% of the inertia I had for the first cigarette. Similarly, the inertia for maintaining 5.0 is once you are in the streak of 5.0, you have a high inertia to maintain the 5.0. So you make use of that. When I say inertia, the positive inertia I'm talking about, you use that inertia to continue that 5.0. The minute you miss one run and you become 4.75, very soon you're looking at 4.0. Because now that 5.0 is that momentum is gone. And so you are like, should I have missed one? So let me miss another 2. It's okay. Strength is not there. So that's why I'm saying it's awesome to be in 5.0. And you got to use the power of that 5.0 to keep going, that mental map to keep going. That's what I want to tell everyone here. When you are in MISO 1, it is important that you maintain 5.0 in MISO 1. If you are on 5.0 MISO 1, the probability of you hitting 5.0 in MISO 2 is much higher. If your MISO 1 is 4.5, you are at 3.5 in MISO 2, 3 in MISO 3, and then you're down the drain on that MISO. So that's why it's super important. So these guys, great example, they finished one season, they got the taste of 5.0, so they don't want to let it go. They will continue. Their inertia is now like Everest. To break 5.0, it's Everest. And Sujaa, Sonali, Veena, and Raghu, if there is one thing I want you to take away from, it is that. Make use of that inertia. Continue for season after season after season, because you have it. Just like never touch that cigarette again. Never break that 5.0 again. Just keep on going, and then let's make that happen. And that's how I would end this podcast for everybody, audience. Get into that conveyor belt of 5.0. Once you taste that juice, once you taste that nectar, it's very addictive, and you will continue. You will make it happen. You will inspire yourself, inspire your family, inspire everybody around you. And that's how amazing human beings exist. So thank you, guys.
One quick point. In this case, I think it's good to feel guilty, because you start feeling guilty and you start performing well.
Yes, totally. That's what, that positive inertia. This is like, I don't know what's the right word. The positive inertia, positive guilt. It's a great thing. Go for it. Be greedy. Be greedy. Make sure that I want 502. Be anal. All the bad things that we normally say, I think in this spectrum, it's a right thing. And thank you guys for inspiring, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. I myself felt great hearing how you got it. As I said, I have never been a 5.0 in my life, and I would love to be a 5.0 at least this season that I am doing right now for myself. I hope I get that, and then I'll come back to you and say that, yep, thanks to you guys, I got a 5.0. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
you.
Good
Thanks,
luck to all
Bala.
runners.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.